Hey, yo, I want to talk about Magic the Gathering in 2026. This recording of the preview panel at MagicCon Atlanta was uploaded to Magic's official YouTube channel on the 26th of September 2025. For context, the date and time of recording for me right now is the 29th of September 2025, which means my takes are hot and fresh, even if I know it will take me like a month to get this video online for you to hear them. But regardless of if the conversation and everyone's attention has fully moved on to Avatar or whatever, regardless of if all these reveals and previews have been talked about to death already, regardless of if you watched the full 1 hour, 5 minute and 35 second preview panel upload yourself, I still think it's worth talking about here because the thumbnail isn't a lie. The mad lads over at WotC have only gone and bloody done it, and have shocked me with some of the things they've announced. Things that this channel has been banging on about since I started it. Things that I think will make the game of Magic the Gathering better for everyone. Things that I can genuinely celebrate about 2026's lineup. It's not perfect, there's still some things that hosts Blake and Hillary announced that I'll still have criticism for, but I watched them talk at this preview panel and my jaw dropped at what they had to show us. I want to be real with you for a minute, I get accused of hating this game a lot. I don't. People confuse my criticism with negativity. It isn't. Yes, I point out the flaws in a lot of WotC's decisions, and there's certainly enough of them to keep me busy, but I do that because I want better for the game, and that is what I saw here. So today I'm going to tally up what I'm calling a win counter, probably knowing me in the form of funny animal pictures or something, and every time WotC take a step in what I feel is the right direction, we're going to add to that tally and then celebrate with another picture. God, I am so thrilled to be able to talk positively about 2026. I'm not going to cover everything in this video. If you want to see all the reveals, you'll have to go watch their upload for yourself. For instance, at the end, they discuss open tournaments in the form of the Magic Spotlight series, but it's mostly just dates, they don't really explain what it is or how it works. So I assume they expect people to already know all that somehow. Sucks to be a new player, I guess. They also brought these two guys on to talk about the Final Fantasy reprints that are coming at the end of the year. They mentioned a bunch of stuff like this promo card, for instance, but the only thing I really have to say about that segment is they made a point of saying the cards in this Final Fantasy 1 scene box all share a color identity, meaning they can all be included in the same deck if the Destined Warrior up there is your commander. They then leave a gap for people to clap, which they don't. And then they immediately moved on to showing us the other Final Fantasy scene boxes, but they don't share a color identity. The cards in these scene boxes can't all be in the one commander deck, so like, why make that a selling point for the first box? Why say anything about it at all? Very strange. However, let's add a tally to the win counter already, because yes, they're reprinting the Final Fantasy VII Commander deck, big whoop, but this deck comes bundled with a digital redemption code for the PC version of the original game via SquareEnix.com, and I think that's a great idea. One of my major complaints about the Final Fantasy set was that I didn't know the series or who any of these characters are, and while having to play hundreds of hours of video game just to figure out what's going on in a single Commander deck is still not a great solution, it is a better solution than the nothing they left us with last time. So yeah, here's a fun picture to celebrate because this feels like a win. But back to the beginning of the presentation, and they bring out Magic story lead Roy Graham, and then later head designer Mark Rosewater to talk to us about Magic's first set of the year, Lorwyn Eclipsed. Now, one of the first things Roy Graham says is, people have been asking for a return to Lorwyn for a long time. And sorry to be a bitch for a second, but I remember way back when WotC put out this video on Aftermath Epilogue boosters, when discussing blocks, product architect Max McCall said, "There's some folks who get really excited about a particular world and just want to spend more time on that world. They want a sequel to March of the Machine, they want a sequel to Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, they want more of the world they got excited about. The biggest challenge for that is, one of the biggest pieces of market research we do is what people's favourite worlds are. The most favourite world typically only has a share of like between 10 and 14%. It's like only the most favourite plane for like 1/7 of Magic players. And so that extra set that's set on a world is serving at most 1/7 of the Magic audience, and we want every set to be for everybody." Which is a weird argument against return to sets, and this was their justification at the time against the pushback they got from jumping from new plane to new plane to new plane like we've seen recently, but they say the data supports this approach. So it's odd to me that people have been asking for a return to Lorwyn for a long time is a phrase they'll bust out as a reason to get excited. People, sure, but apparently only 1/7 of them have been asking for this according to you. So doesn't that make this set by WotC logic not for everyone then? And if true, but that's no longer a factor in what sets you choose to make, why not return to blocks then? At least in terms of flavour, if not mechanically, which might help alleviate the goddamn tonal whiplash people are experiencing from the sheer number of releases. Pump out as many sets as you want, as if we could stop you, but if they're all the same flavour and set on the same plane, at least it might not feel as exhausting to try and keep up. And yeah, maybe only 1/7 of your players will be happy, but according to you, that's going to be the case no matter what plane you're on, right? Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Lorwyn's doing a fun double-faced card thing, where the front side represents Lorwyn and those front faces will have mechanics representative of the mechanics from the original Lorwyn set, but the back side represents Shadowmoor, and those back faces will have mechanics representative of the mechanics from the original Shadowmoor set. In my opinion, this is a great flavourful way to capture the duality of Lorwyn and Shadowmoor within the set, and exactly the type of callback to both sets that I would have wanted to see included. To be honest, I'm surprised we didn't see a return of Innistrad's Daybound and Nightbound mechanics, because as it stands mechanically, it seems you'll be able to have some cards representing the light of Lorwyn and other cards representing the dark of Shadowmoor on the board at the same time, which is a bit ludonarratively dissonant if that's not how it works in the lore. But maybe this is in the lore and it's all explained, so for now, I think it's a win. Let's celebrate with a picture. And in fact, Lorwyn has several more wins as a set, so to speedrun a few. Kithkin are back, Magic's been on a bit of a tear lately, reducing interesting creature types like this down. Viashino are now just lizards for an example. And I was worried Kithkin would go the same way, so the fact they haven't I think should be counted as a win. Here's our celebration image. To my detriment, this isn't usually something I pay a lot of attention to, but they made a point of saying how a bunch of original artists have come back for the set. Lorwyn did have a very distinct style, so that's cool. I count that as a win. Here's another celebration image. They're reprinting the Shocklands in the set. I'll never turn my nose up at that. And they've got that duality of artwork going on, which is cool. It's another win. Here's another celebration image. This next one's a small thing, but if you check this image of products coming with Lorwyn, you'll see the play boosters finally have multiple different artworks on them again. And I know no one else cares, but I have bemoaned packs only having a single image several times on this channel. So this is a win for me at least. Here's our image. And this next one isn't a win yet, but could be depending on the price. This new product called Draft Night, which they described as, it's the quickest and easiest way to play Draft, everything you could need for a 4-player pick 2 draft. Okay. If we look at the box art, we can see it contains 12 play boosters, 90 land, and 1 collector booster, presumably as a prize. I don't know about you, but when I attend a draft I don't expect to have to buy land, so that cost shouldn't be a factor. I'm undecided on this, but to my mind, the collector booster should be free as well because it's clearly a prize. It's not a prize if you pay for it, it's just a purchase. So what I would like to see is this Draft Night box be priced no higher than the cost of 12 play boosters. I'd allow a couple of dollars more for the packaging and the fact it's boxed together, but then expect a couple of dollars less because like with booster boxes you're buying packs in bulk, which should be at a reduced rate. At the most expensive I could understand incorporating the cost of the collector booster too, but by that point I'd personally rather just pay for the 12 packs on their own honestly. Because I don't want a collector booster, and if I have to pay for its inclusion it feels like a rip-off. And look at me Wizards of the Coast, because if this product is a penny higher than that of the cost of 12 play boosters and 1 collector booster combined, then you can get fucked. And I'm not even going to get into the theory that sometimes the packs in pre-releases, bundles and booster boxes all have different drop rates to juice sales, but I'll be very surprised if we don't see similar accusations over this product too. I would expect this product to be priced high to dissuade players who would have bought 12 packs anyway, from just picking this up instead for a free collector booster. But then I fear I can also see it being priced very cheap for now, as they gently encourage players to stop buying booster boxes so that in a year they can discontinue them for something more expensive with lack of sales as an excuse. They did it with draft boosters, mark my words they could do it again here. Next up is another win though in the form of 60 card theme decks, which they describe as pre-constructed, ready to play right out of the box. These are fast and fun and playable and they're meant to introduce players to the world of 60 card constructed. And then most importantly he says, they'll be standard legal, and then later and even more importantly he says again, they're going to have an MSRP of $23.99 and be available at your local game store. What a godsend. Finally, a full deck product for new players that doesn't break the bank and is for a format other than bloody Commander. I know he means standard, but the lack of something like this is the reason I've never played Modern. Sure, for new players Jumpstart is a lot of fun, though there was no mention of it here. But you can't use a Jumpstart deck in Standard, so there's not really an entry point. In my eyes, these theme decks are a win, and let's hope that price doesn't creep up or the quality doesn't go down as they bring out more. The next thing they announced was an unannounced Universes Beyond set coming in March. Okay. Then, Secrets of Strixhaven, which they bring Roy Graham back on stage for, and one of the first things he says is, Strixhaven is obviously a fan favourite plane, listen to him, gesturing towards the crowd. Yeah, it's also a Roy favourite plane. Well, good for you, Roy. Shame about the other 6/7 of the player base, right? Because that's why we can't have blocks, right? I'm being snarky, I know it's not as simple as that. Anyway, Strixhaven gets another mark on the win counter because we're only getting a novel to go along with it, and it's canon. Roy said it's the first Magic the Gathering novel in It's Been a Minute, which might imply more novels on the way, and then he said, Omens of Chaos is a YA novel set in Strixhaven by frequent Magic author Sean Maguire about Strixhaven's first ever class of interplanar students who have arrived at the university by Omen Path. Will they fit in? Will they pass the class? Will they survive? You'll have to find out. And you know what, Roy? I will. I'm a bit old for YA, but I do want to support and encourage Watsy's investment in the lore again. So here's our image, because to me this is a win. Then we get to the Old Man Shouts at Cloud section of the panel, because next up, it's more of everyone's favourite set of 2025, a sequel to the much beloved Spider-Man in the form of Marvel Superheroes. I just don't care. Once spider bitten, twice shy. And then it's The Hobbit, for which I haven't read the book and thought the movies were rubbish. They made Ian McKellen cry, so I have no interest in this set either. I'm a fan of Magic, I want to play a Magic game. If I were a fan of The Hobbit, I'd go and read The Hobbit. And don't you, yes you, dare complain in the comments about me complaining about this, because it's one of the biggest issues with Universes Beyond. Watsy could just make an in-universe companion set that I would happily buy, which the Spider-Man Arena cards prove they can do. So Watsy could print those in paper and they could keep everyone happy, but are choosing not to. I get it, but if you're sick of people complaining about Universes Beyond, take it up with Wizards of the Coast, because this is a problem of their creation, and by not printing the cards, they're the ones refusing to fix it. Next up is another in-universe set, which Roy started off by saying that Lorwyn and Strixhaven are steps leading up to this huge event set, which is itself the finale of a story we've been building for literally years. We've been calling it the Metronome Arc, and some of you, the most passionate among you, might have heard that before, but we have been leading up to something really special. To catch up the people who have missed an episode or two of the story, I'd love to just summarise where we started all the way back in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Mark Rosewater says, previously in Magic the Gathering, and Roy continues, we saw Jace. And let me stop you there, Roy. Maybe I don't want an in-universe set after all. I had sort of hoped Jace's story would be concluded in the background of Edge of Eternities, but it seems we're getting a full Jace-focused set called Reality Fracture. I'm kind of sick of both Jace and Loot, but apparently they're going to be key players, so this set is going to have to be really good or I'm going to be pissed. Mark Rosewater said the entire set is built around this one revolutionary innovation, something they've never done before but couldn't tell us what it is, and then said, I've not been this excited for an in-universe Magic set for a long time. Yeah, Mark, it shows. But to put my claws away, I don't know, maybe this will be good. Hard to say without literally knowing anything about it. But so far it just sounds like a hat set with the hat being a blue hood or whatever. And then we end on Star Trek. A real wet fart of a final reveal. And don't get me wrong, I like Star Trek. I even did a video on it. But I just want Magic to be Magic because like with Spider-Man, I don't think Magic systems are flexible enough to naturally accommodate worlds not designed for it. I think Avatar is going to be a good example of this because I doubt their 4-colour world will gel with Magic's 5-colour system. I mean, I understand, like in my video, imagining how external IP could fit in Magic systems is a fun fan theory exercise, but it should never go beyond that. And that's 2026. Kind of a bummer towards the end there. 7 full sets in Standard is insane, which, if you remember, is due to the fact that Lorwyn got pushed back from 2025. Meaning I guess apparently the original plan this year was to only have 2 in-universe sets in 2026. And one of them was a Jace set. Oh, Hasbro, you're killing the game that I love. But books are back. Packs with multiple artworks are back. Lower costed 60-card Precons are back. Look how many wins there were for this preview panel. If you ignore all of the bad stuff, I'm considering 2026 as a positive. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And come check out my Patreon, I feel like I haven't plugged it in ages. 42% of the year will be actual Magic. 42%. Thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you to everyone that supports me, like 27 Publications, Eggboy the Particle that permeates all existence, Blank Space, Wanpako Jozu, Miss Murder, a random Patreon, Ominous Jazz, and the rest of my patrons whose names are on screen now. I'd also like to thank the sponsor for this video, me and my Patreon page where you can get your name credited on screen too. Check it out in the link in the description below. Hit the like button, leave a comment. You know what to do here if you're a regular. Most importantly, subscribe and share this video with a friend. Hit the notification bell and do all those things the algorithm loves. If you agree or disagree with any of my points, or you want to see me do a video on another subject, let me know and I will see you next time. 2026 looks okay.